Holy hail on the eastern plains tonight. Looked like snow out there. Joel Wagner took these photos in Anton off Highway 36 in Washington County.
There's something. Now let's take a live look outside here in Denver. The wet conditions have mostly moved out tonight, but another round of severe weather is possible again tomorrow. Broken record here. 9 News meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen is joining us with more on that system and what we can expect.
Yeah, much of the same. What we saw today, isolated severe cells across the eastern plains, which could include Denver in large hail threat and damaging winds. That hail that you saw there in Anton, this is another shot from Sally's pickup truck here, tried to fill up the back of it. Some storm chasers were reporting 12 inches of hail out there in Anton, so that's a foot of hail. This was the storm that made all the noise here. This is kind of a time lapse with storm reports for the night. It started just north of Fort Morgan, went through Fort Morgan, through Woodrow, through Anton, and into Kit Carson County with all these hail and wind reports. Golf ball size hail reported with 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Cheyenne Wells. The radar is starting to look a little bit quieter right now as the last few severe thunderstorms have now exited the state. And this is actually the beginning of tomorrow's system, which will move across the mountains overnight and get to us early in the morning. We could see some rain showers here right now starting to diminish across the area. Temperatures into the 50s at the moment. Nice and cool night for us. Here's the threat for tomorrow, mostly into the southeast part of the state, but we are looking at that threat for the Denver metro area. And so that is what I will detail coming up in the full forecast.
The man accused of firebombing a peaceful gathering in Boulder now faces 118 charges, including attempted murder.
9 News reporter Ria Jha went to his appearance in state court today. Joins us now from the Boulder County Jail. Ria, what happened today?
Yeah, his name is Mohamed Solimman. He's being held here in Boulder County Jail on a $10 million bond. There were snipers lining the roof here while the hearing was going on earlier today. While that hearing was pretty short, the case against him was massive.
This is People versus Mohamed Solimman.
Mohamed Solimman, last seen in public at a peaceful gathering on Pearl Street, now standing before a judge accused of trying to kill the people who attended.
118 charges were filed.
In a hearing that lasted 3 minutes, 118 state charges became official.
If the defendant's convicted and those counts run or those sentences run consecutive, that would be 48 years in state prison for each of the 14 victims, which comes to 672 years.
Boulder Democratic District Attorney Michael Doherty said those charges included attempted first-degree murder, assault on at-risk individuals, and use of explosive or incendiary devices.
The charges reflect the evidence that we have regarding this horrific attack that took place and the seriousness of it.
Along with federal charges, he's an Egyptian national facing a pending deportation case. But Doherty says he won't let that get in the way.
I am absolutely committed to making sure the defendant's fully prosecuted. So obviously making sure he remains in the country is a top priority so that he can be fully prosecuted and held fully responsible.
Determined to do right by the 15 victims and dog impacted by this.
For the victims in this case, for their families, for the members of the Jewish community, and for all the members of this great state, that we stand together at a time where it's really needed, a time of crisis and a time of pain and trauma.
Solimman is expected in Boulder County Court on July 15th, and he's also facing those federal charges, which he's expected in court for that tomorrow. 3 of those victims are still in the hospital, and Boulder police are still investigating, but they're saying there might be more witnesses and even more victims that they're not aware of. So anyone with information is asked to come forward. Live in Boulder, Ria Jha, 9 News.
A symbol of peace in the Boulder community returned early this year. The Boulder Star is shining brightly over the city tonight in light of Sunday's attack. It's been lit on Flagstaff Mountain every holiday season since 1947. There have been 4 other times it's been turned on outside of the season: after the King Super shooting, the Marshall Fire, during the pandemic, and the Iran hostage crisis.
Truly is our star, and these moments demand it. Look outside your window and see what we've got here. This is our star, this is our beacon of hope, and this is our time to come together.
And the star will be lit through Sunday night. The Boulder Chamber says they could extend that if they feel the need. An object that a member of a Fort Collins tribal community brought to a council meeting is at the center of a dispute.
The city says it blocked the public's view. The man carrying it says the only thing interfered with at that meeting were his religious rights. Here's 9 News reporter Colton Chavez.
There's a bond with the winged ones to the ground.
A bond that goes beyond religion.
This is my son's up there. Iahok Shila, very powerful. The spirits gave him his name.
For Rory Spotted Horse, his beliefs speak volumes.
Hunkpapa Lakota.
Rory belongs to the Lakota tribe and lives in Fort Collins.
This right here is a staff that I carry myself personally when times are difficult.
That staff became the source of a difficult situation when he held it at a Fort Collins City Council meeting this week.
Our rules specifically preclude things that are attached to sticks.
Okay, they just wanted me to leave it behind, leaning on a wall or on the ground. It's a sacred object.
Rory says he was there to talk about land use, but that never happened.
And I'm going to be very clear on this. You guys have violated the First Amendment.
The city of Fort Collins tells me that they respect people's First Amendment rights and the religious right of expression. But they also told me that the council meetings have rules of procedure designed to limit disruption and ensure equitable access and visibility. They say the size of the object was obstructing visibility as Mr. Spotted Horse was sitting in the front row. The city of Fort Collins also tells me that they asked Rory to move or just place his item in the back of the room. But they also tell me that they never asked him to leave. That's something he disputes.
They told me to leave.
Rory doesn't want to leave the conversation there.
Maybe if there's something that we can set up a meeting, I would like to work with them and maybe bring the awareness.
Awareness that Rory says speaks through the heart of the Lakota tribe.
You have to stop, think thoughts through before you speak sometimes.
In Fort Collins, Colton Chavez, 9 News.
New tonight, officials with Denver Public Schools are warning of more school closures in the years to come. This past November, the school board voted to close 7 schools and restructure 3 others. Months later, they're already looking at the possibility of more. The school board heard a presentation today on the 5-year forecast for enrollment. It shows the number of students who are enrolled in the district and live in Denver is expected to decline by 8%. That's about 6,000 fewer students.
Maybe a reasonable expectation if the forecast proves to validate that additional recommendations for closures could come by 2030.
The recommendation, so future school closures could be possible in the central, northwest, and southwest parts of the city.
A state employee is suing the governor. Lawsuit claims Democratic Governor Jared Polis ordered state employees to illegally share personal information about Coloradans with federal immigration agents without a court order, something that would be in violation of 2 state laws Polis signed. Those laws prevent sharing personally identifying information that's not publicly available with immigration. There are exceptions, though, if ICE has a court-issued subpoena, a warrant, or an order. The lawsuit claims that ICE used an administrative subpoena to get information on 35 sponsors of unaccompanied immigrant minors. So these are adults who have taken responsibility for children who are here without legal status and without a parent or guardian. Spokesperson for the governor said, quote, helping federal law enforcement partners locate and, if necessary, rescue children being abused and trafficked is not only in line with the law, but also a moral imperative. 9 News has not seen the subpoena. We asked the governor's office if this subpoena actually alleged a crime, and we asked if it was signed by a judge. They responded with a statement that didn't answer either question.
Immigration advocates in Colorado say ICE is going after immigrants who are following the law and showing up to their court hearings, not the worst of the worst criminals like the Trump administration said they would target. The American Friends Service Committee says they've seen 8 people, including 2 children, detained following their immigration court hearings. They say in most instances, someone's case is being dismissed by a judge. That means they're out of compliance and haven't had the chance to file any other paperwork. Then they're in the custody of ICE.
What does this speak about the legal way when people are now coming into their legal court dates and they are being stopped and they are questioning if the legal way is really the right way? And so if that is not the right way, then what is the way?
The GEO detention facility in Aurora is not allowed to hold children in detention, so advocates say they don't know where many families with kids are going.
It was a rough day for MyPillow guy Mike Lindell at his defamation trial in Denver. Both allies and critics dismissed Lindell's so-called evidence of election rigging. Hacker and election security expert Hari Hershey testified by video. He evaluated Lindell's supposed hard evidence of election rigging, and he called it bull bleep, random garbage, and just smoke and mirrors. Jurors also heard today from Joel Altman. He's the conservative activist from Douglas County who is the original source of the claim that Lindell's now being sued for repeatedly making publicly. This claim that Dominion Voting Systems, based in Denver, and its former executive Eric Coomer engaged in treason by rigging the election. Altman has long claimed that he snuck onto an Antifa conference call to discover this plot. He's never provided evidence. When asked under oath today who got him onto this secret call, Altman sat silently, refusing to answer. You can't identify the source because the whole thing's made up. The whole thing's made up, isn't it? Altman was asked by Coomer's attorneys. No, you're wrong, he responded. Altman, who's been publicly pondering a run for governor, presumably on the Republican ticket next year, has called for mass executions of his perceived political opponents, including U.S. senators, former President Biden, and journalists.
An engine on an American Airlines flight that caught fire after landing at DIA had a fuel leak and improperly installed parts. That's according to a preliminary report from the National Transportation Safety Board. The plane was headed from Colorado Springs to Dallas-Fort Worth back in March when the crew reported engine vibrations. The plane diverted to DIA. Its right engine caught fire as it arrived at the gate. The report released today shows one part inside the right engine was loose and was installed in the wrong direction. It says fuel was leaking from another part that was also fastened incorrectly. The report also found flight attendants were the ones to actually start that evacuation after knocking on the cockpit door and getting no answer. And one door they tried to use as an escape route did not open because the escape slide jammed it. Today's report does not identify the cause of the fire. We may not get that update until sometime next year.